We light this chalice as a symbol of our free faith. We light this chalice to remember the miracle of the oil that burned for 8 nights. We light this chalice to mark this time of midwinter. We light this chalice as we wait for the sun to return. These words are by Don Fortune.
Friends, I invite you to join in the words that will be a response to our Advent wreath lighting and our chalice lighting. You may remain seated. Please join in singing the first verse of Joy to the World, number 245 in the Gray Book. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Deb Weiner. I'm the Interim Director of Religious Education here at First Parish in Bedford, and I am so glad that you are here. I want to say that I am particularly glad to see our friend Lori Groves, who is out of the hospital. Yay! And when you want to think about whether you have clout, she and Dean managed to get her sprung in time to come to this service. So I take this as a good sign for the holiday. Lori, it's great to see you. Dean, it's good to see you too. Well, friends, we hope that you will enjoy your time with us today and in the days to come as well. It certainly is right into the holiday season. I want to say that because we are celebrating Hanukkah, which begins tonight at sundown, we will have a special treat in the common room following worship. We will have sufganiyat, otherwise known as jelly donuts, for you all to enjoy, and we hope that you will do that as well and also join in the spirit of this season. If you are visiting today, and I know that some of you are, we hope that you will make sure that you go across the hall to join us for our social time together. On your way, if you would like to find out more about us and also tell us about you, you can fill out a blue connection card, which I hope is in the pew rack in front of you, and you can drop it off at the welcome table, which is behind this room, and we will follow up with you. You can enjoy looking at our Christmas tree, our wish tree, and you will see the generosity there of people who are connected with this congregation who have joined together to help the Lowell Shelter, with whom we partner all year round with many gifts. And it is looking beautiful and plentiful, and we thank all of you for your generosity. Those gifts will be going to the Lowell Shelter later today. We want to remind you about coming events, and that would be Christmas Eve. We have 2 worship services. For those of you who are creatures of habit, consider this your reminder. The early service this year has been moved to 3:30, and that is to help families get home if they are expecting a visit from Santa or they just have many activities. The later service will be, as it always has been, at 8 p.m. They will be lovely times for us to be together, to light candles, and to celebrate this very special time of year. I also want to express gratitude and appreciation for the 40 or so people who joined Annie and Sarah and me last night up in the bacon room at our solstice service. That was also a wonderful and fun time. And I want to say that next Sunday, for those of you who want to stay in the Spirit, it will be the time of our cusp service, our cusp of the year. And we are very pleased that we will be able to welcome percussionist and lifelong UU Matt Meyer with us to lead that service. And it will be in the common room across the hallways. So come and join in that as well. As is always the case, there is a lot going on here at First Parish. In the new year, I believe you will see the Reverend John Gibbons again. And we will all welcome him back, and we'll also be welcoming the Reverend John Burens, former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So that's coming after the year turns. But for now, let me say again, welcome to you all. I am so glad that you are here. And now I invite you to join in our unison affirmation, which is printed in our order of service, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit for that. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es suyo. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. And now, friends, I invite you to remain standing in body or spirit, and to join in singing the beautiful song of the miracle of Hanukkah, Rock of Ages, Let Our Song, number 223 in the Gray Book.
This is Meditation on Winter Celebrations by Elizabeth Strong. We are in the midst of a season of celebrations, of the birth of new hope, of the festival of lights, of the triumph of freedom. The darkness of the year is lifting, and the time of light grows longer. We have gathered with an anticipation of hope for peace on earth and in our homes. We have gathered in this season of celebrations to seek comfort, to soften the pain and the losses our lives have suffered in the fast retreating year. We have gathered to worship joyfully within this season of celebrations with the tenderness and love of our friends and family around us. Let us embrace the strength and power of this sacred space that we create together in beloved community. Let joy and sorrow join in the fullness of our living. And let us embody the season of celebration as we move into a new year with our vision of hope and peace. We will be silent for a moment, and then we will join in singing Light One Candle as we prepare to start our tale of Hershel and the Hanukkah Goblins. Let us join in number 221, Light One Candle.
It was the first night of Hanukkah. Hershel of Ostropol was walking down the road. He was tired and hungry. Nonetheless, his step was light. Soon he would reach the next village, where bright candles, merry songs, and platters piled high with tasty potato latkes awaited him. But when he arrived, the village was silent and dark. Not a single Hanukkah candle could be seen.
Isn't tonight the first night of Hanukkah?
We don't have Hanukkah, Hershel.
No, Hanukkah. How can that be?
It's because of the goblins. They haunt the old synagogue at the top of the hill. They hate Hanukkah. Whenever we try to light a menorah, the goblins blow out the candles. They break our dreidels. They throw our potato latkes on the floor. Those wicked goblins make our lives miserable all year long. But on Hanukkah, it's really bad.
Hershel knew he needed to help the village people.
I am not afraid of goblins. You tell me how to get rid of them.
It's not as easy as you think. You have to spend 8 nights in the old synagogue. The Hanukkah candles must be lit each night. And on the 8th night, the king of the goblins must light the Hanukkah candles himself. That is the only way to break their power.
Well, I am not afraid, Rabbi. If I can't outwit a few goblins, then my name isn't Hershel of Ostropol.
The villagers wished Hershel good luck. They had no potato latkes to give him, so they packaged several hard-boiled eggs for him to eat, along with a big jar of pickles. The rabbi gave Hershel a brass menorah, a package of candles, and a box of matches. Then the villagers said goodbye.
Sei gesund.
Nobody expected to see Hershel again. It was long past sundown by the time Hershel climbed to the top of the hill where the old synagogue stood. The crumbling building was gloomy and dark, and rusty hinges squeaked as he opened the door. Hershel shuddered. He could easily believe that goblins lived there. Hershel put 2 candles in the menorah and set it on the windowsill. He struck a match and lit the shamas candle. He said the blessings and was about to light the other candle when he heard a voice.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hershel turned around. Here was a goblin no bigger than a horsefly, with a long, pointy tail and 2 little bat's wings hovering in the air.
I am lighting the Hanukkah candles. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah.
Oh, no, it's not. We don't allow Hanukkah around here.
Well, is that so? Well, who's going to stop me? A little pipsqueak like you?
I may be small, but I am mighty.
Really? Can you crush rocks in your hands?
Crush rocks? You're joking. Nobody's that strong.
Well, I am. Watch. You see this rock?
Hershel took a hard-boiled egg from his pocket and squeezed it until the yolk and the white ran through his fingers.
Where are we here? Who's next? Aha. You see that? That's how hard I'm going to squeeze you if you try to stop me from lighting these candles.
The little goblin's eyes opened wide, since in the dim light the egg looked exactly like a rock. The goblin shook with fear.
You leave me alone.
Gladly, if you let me light my candles in peace.
All right, one night won't make a difference, but you better not be here tomorrow. Big, scary goblins are coming, much bigger than me. If they catch you lighting Hanukkah candles, you'll be sorry.
And then Hershel lit the first candle.
So I'm going to talk for a second, and we're scrambling the service a little, because not scrambling eggs, but scrambling the service a little. I just wanted to pause at this moment and talk for a moment about miracles, because that is what we're celebrating here. And in fact, that is what we celebrate at this season. Here, my friends, is something remarkable. We are in the season in which there are old, very old stories that are all around us, the story of Hanukkah being one of them. Stories that make us wonder whether they are true, of how a special star guided kings to the barnyard bed of a baby who they had heard would be remarkable. And before that, the story of how an angel spoke to a young woman and told her that even though she was a virgin, she would give birth to this amazing baby who would be blessed. And in Jerusalem, before any of that happened, a story of how the Jews rose up against their Syrian Greek oppressors in the Maccabean revolt, reclaiming the second temple in that city. For it was there that as they sought to reconsecrate the temple, they found no oil to light their sacred menorah. And a need for miracles too in the ancient pagan and Celtic worlds, where people thought the world was about to end as the light grew dimmer and dimmer, signaling they thought the end of all life. Juxtaposed against these ancient stories, here in this day and time, we are now asked to make a choice of whether we believe the testimony of smeared diplomats, of a disgraced president, of politicians on all sides, all of whom put forward to us their version of the truth. And we are called to discern whether for us there is truth and where it lies. All these questions about truth and about where miracles lie, if they do exist. Now, maybe what goes on now is more nuanced, and somehow against this backdrop of Christian and pagan and Jewish culture, we know these things. Jesus was born in the most humble of settings. Wise men did visit him and brought gifts from the East. Jesus did grow up to be a compelling, stirring, and some would say dangerous teacher and an inspiration for many people. So dangerous that those in power felt that ending his life was the only possible outcome. But what about Hanukkah, the celebration of the lights that begins at sunset tonight? Where did the story of the miracle come from? We know that the battle of the Jews against Antiochus really happened. Led by the Jewish priest Mattathias and his 5 sons, a large-scale rebellion broke out against Antiochus and the Seleucid monarchy. When Mattathias died in 166 BC, his son Judah, known as Judah Maccabee, the Hammer, became the leader of his people, and within 2 years, the Jews had successfully driven the Syrians out of Jerusalem. Judah Maccabee called on his followers to cleanse the second temple of Jerusalem, to rebuild its altar and light its menorah, the gold candelabrum whose 7 branches represented knowledge and creation and were meant to be kept burning every night. And it is at this point that the story really hinges on believing in miracles. For even though there was only enough pure olive oil to keep the menorah's candles burning for a single day, The flames continued flickering for 8 nights, leaving Judah and the Maccabees time to find a fresh supply of oil. And it is this wondrous event that inspired the Jewish sages to proclaim a yearly 8-day festival, the Festival of Hanukkah. The Festival of Lights is celebrated now with foods fried in oil, with singing, with spinning of the dreidel, a gambling game that gives the winner gelt or gold as a reward. But it started with embracing a story that calls us to believe what is unbelievable. That following a devastating war, a hero rose up with his army, reclaimed and reconsecrated a sacred temple, and lit candles that burned for 8 nights, even though there was only oil enough to kindle the lights for 1 day. We need miracles in our lives right now. Miracles that will sustain us through the cold, through the hearings going on in Congress, through the dark nights that wrap us in quiet and sometimes despair. There are reasons to believe, it turns out. In the birth of a beautiful child who grew up to bless the world, and in the birth of each child who comes into this world, in the wonders of the stars in the heavens, and in the lights that we kindle to renew our hope and our faith in one another. A time for miracles, for love, for hope. May it be so for each of us as well.
This is a community where we believe that the goblins in our lives can be fended off when we work together and support each other. We will now collect the offering to sustain the good work of this community, that we may continue to work the miracles of community.
On the second night, another goblin appeared. Hershel was finishing his dinner of pickles and hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, come, have some pickles. Here, this one is just for you. It's got your name on it.
Hershel tossed the goblin a sour pickle. The goblin caught it in her mouth and swallowed it.
Pickles are so good.
Oh, do you like them? I have a whole jar. There's plenty of them for you. Take all you want.
The greedy goblin grabbed as many pickles as her claws could hold, but when she tried to pull her fist out of the jar, she couldn't.
I am stuck. You put a spell. You put a spell on this jar.
That's right, and it's a very powerful spell. You came here tonight to stop me from lighting the candles. So now I am going to light them while you watch and stand there with your hand stuck in that jar.
No. Oh, no. I hate Hanukkah.
That's too bad. You're going to have to get used to it.
Hershel said the blessings and lit the candles slowly. Then he sang all his favorite Hanukkah songs. The goblin wailed and carried on so much that Hershel finally decided to let her go.
Shall I tell you how to break the spell?
Yes, I can't stand this anymore.
Well, it's pretty easy. You just let go of the pickles. Your greed is the only spell that's holding you prisoner.
The goblin let go of the pickles. Her hand slipped out of the jar easily. The goblin howled. She had stood there with her hand in a pickle jar while Hershel lit Hanukkah candles right under her nose. The furious goblin stamped her foot so hard that she shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. The wind blew the pieces away. Then the third night came. Hershel felt something watching him as he set the candles in the menorah. Instead of lighting them, he began playing with the dreidel. An hour passed. Hershel looked up. Sitting across the table was another goblin. This one had a fiery red face and 2 enormous horns.
It's getting late. When are you going to light the candles?
I'll do it later. There's plenty of time. This is a lot more fun.
What are you playing with? It looks like a top.
Well, it's called a dreidel. Don't you know about dreidels?
No?
Well, that's too bad. Dreidels are a lot of fun. Here, you know you can make a lot of money if you know how to play.
Really?
The goblin was interested now. All goblins like money. This one was no exception.
Let's see here.
How do you play?
Well, it's very simple, but you need the right things to go with it. You must have gold. That's the first rule.
I have plenty of gold. Is this enough?
The goblin poured a pile of gold coins onto the table.
Okay, that's great. Now listen very carefully. This letter right here is the shin. If it comes up, you give me a handful of gold. And this letter is the hay. If it comes up, you give me half of your gold. This letter is the gimel. If the dreidel falls on this letter, you give me all of your gold. You understand?
Wait, there's one left. What about this one?
Oh, yeah, right. There's the nun. If the dreidel falls on the nun, I don't give you anything. You ready? Let's play. You go first.
The goblin spun the dreidel. The little top whirled round and round. When it fell, the letter on top was Shin. Hershel took a big handful of the goblin's gold.
Too bad. Try again. Maybe you'll have better luck this time.
The goblin spun the dreidel once more. This time it landed on hay. Hershel helped himself to half the goblin's gold.
Okay, and now I get half. Oh, that's really good. I love this game. Well, maybe this isn't your night. One more time, your luck is bound to improve.
Once again, the goblin spun. This time, the dreidel landed on Gimel. Hershel sighed as he took the rest of the goblin's gold.
I get all of your gold. That's a lot of gold. It's too bad. Would you like me to spin?
Yes.
The goblin was very unhappy about losing her money. Hershel spun the dreidel. This time, the letter Nun was on top.
Oh my, I don't have to give you anything. I get to keep all the gold. That was a lot of fun. Get some more gold and we can play again.
What about the Hanukkah candles?
Oh, we'll light them later. There's plenty of time.
Not for me. I'm leaving now. I don't like this game, and I don't like Hanukkah, and I don't like you.
Oh, no, please don't go. I have lots of other games. Stay a while. We can have more fun.
Goodbye.
The goblin spread her wings, swooped out the door, and flew off into the night. Hershel lit the candles all by himself. Nights, other goblins came. One had 6 heads. One had 3 eyes. All were terrible and fierce. They growled and roared and changed themselves into terrible shapes. They tried to stop Hershel from lighting the Hanukkah candles, but Hershel fooled them all. Finally, the 7th night arrived. 8 tiny candles flickered on the windowsill. Hershel sat back to enjoy their light. Where were the goblins? Had they finally given up? Hershel felt very sleepy. His eyes closed. Suddenly, he sat up. He heard a horrible sound, a voice that sounded like the cracking of bones.
Happy Hanukkah, Hershel of Asterpol.
Who's that? Who's there?
Don't you know who I am, Hershel? Weren't you expecting the king of the goblins?
The voice rose to a hurricane roar. It ripped the shingles from the synagogue roof and shattered the windows. The Hanukkah candles reeled in the savage blast, but they did not go out.
You're too early. You're not supposed to come until tomorrow.
The great roaring wind died down.
Don't worry, Hershel. I am far away, but I have the power to see you and speak to you. Enjoy this Hanukkah evening, my friends. It will be your last, and tomorrow night I will come for you. You fooled the other goblins. Let's see if you can fool me.
Poor Hershel. What was he to do? The king of the goblins was on his way, and no power on earth could stop him. Unless Hershel had an idea. It was a big chance, but he had to take it. It was the only way to save himself and Hanukkah. And then it was the last night of Hanukkah. Hershel set the candles in the menorah, but instead of placing it on the windowsill, he put the menorah and the box of matches on a small table near the door. Then he sat down to wait. Night fell. It grew dark as pitch inside the gloomy old synagogue. Outside, the whole world lay cold and silent. Suddenly, a great gust ripped the synagogue door from its hinges. The whole building shook. A fearsome voice spoke.
Hershel, a last report.
Did I hear something?
It is I, King of the Goblins.
Don't be silly. You're just one of the boys from the village. You're trying to scare me.
I am not a boy. I am the King of the Goblins.
Oh, I'll believe it when I see it. Show yourself to me.
Behold, I stand before you. Do you believe me now?
Hershel tried not to look. Even in the darkness, he could see the outline of a monstrous shape filling the doorway, a figure too horrible to describe. He pretended not to care.
You know, it's really too dark. I can't see anything. A candlestick and some matches are here by the doorway. Why don't you light a few candles? Then I'll see who you really are.
Indeed you shall.
A match flared. The shamus candle caught the flame. Hershel's blood turned to water at the awful sight before him, but he did not lose courage. He silently prayed.
Oh, Master of the world, thou who created the heavens and the earth and the spirits in the air, stand by me now.
Then Hershel addressed the goblin.
You know, it's still dark, it's getting lighter, but you know what are you afraid of? You finish lighting all of these candles. Light them all.
A hideous hand took the shamus candle and lit the others one by one. Hershel felt himself growing faint, but he forced himself to look. His eyes grew wider and wider as each candle caught the flame. 6, 7, 8. The king of the goblins now stood before him.
Yeah, just leave them.
Now, Hershel, do you know who I am?
Well, I can tell you're not Annie Gonzalez Milliken.
Very funny. Enjoy the joke. It will be your last.
Oh, that's what you think. Be gone or I'll take a stick to you.
How dare you speak to the king of the goblins that way?
I'll speak to you any darn way I want. You don't have any power. Your spell is broken. See? The menorah is lit. You thought those were ordinary candles you were lighting. They weren't. They were the Hanukkah candles, and you lit them all yourself.
The king of the goblins roared with fury. The earth trembled, and a mighty wind arose. It ripped off the synagogue roof and blew down the walls. It splintered the great timbers and scattered them like matchsticks. Around the menorah, the whirlwind howled, but the candles never flickered. They burned with clear, steady flames. The king of the goblins had no power over them. The spirit of Hanukkah had triumphed. The great wind vanished as suddenly as it had risen. Hershel rubbed his eyes. The night was as still as before, even though the synagogue was gone. Walls, floor, roof, even the foundation stones had vanished, but the menorah remained, standing tall upon the little table where Hershel had placed it. Hershel waited until the last candle had burned out. Then he started down the road that led to the village.
Well, I'd better hurry. I don't want to miss the last night of Hanukkah.
But there was no reason to worry. In every window he passed, there stood a menorah with 9 gleaming candles to light the way. The whole village was waiting for Hershel.
One more time, let's sing. Don't let the lights go out. Friends, before we close this service, I want you to show your appreciation for our cast. Cast, stand up and take a bow. Woo! My friends, we have these closing words from Amanda Udis Kessler. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of light in a season of darkness, to the miracle of trust in a time of anxiety, to hope in a time of despair, to the miracle of faith in a time of cynicism. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of wholeness in a time of fracture, to the miracle of courage in a time of fear, to the miracle of resistance in a time of oppression. We rededicate ourselves to creating the miracle of peace in a time of violence and hatred. And most of all, we rededicate ourselves to creating over and over again the miracle of love. The Maccabees have the last word for us. Feel free to get up and dance.
I'll tell a tale, yeah. Of Maccabees in Israel, yeah. When the Greeks tried to sail, but it was all to no avail, yeah. The war went on and on and on until the mighty Greeks were gone, yeah. I put my lockers in the air sometimes, saying, hey, oh, spin the dreidel. Just wanna celebrate for all 8 nights, singing, hey, oh, light the candle. We say Alhamdulillah, oh yeah, for all 8 nights. Then we play dreidel by the candlelight. And I told you once, now I told you twice, about the miracle of the candlelight. They took the field. Their rivals thought, are they for real? Those Maccabees, they'd never yield. They charged ahead with sword and shield. Yeah, the war went on and on and on until the mighty Greeks were gone, yeah. I put my lockers in the air sometimes, saying, hey, oh, spin the dreidel. Just wanna celebrate for all 8 nights, singing, hey, oh, light the candle. We say Ma'osun, oh yeah, for all 8 nights. Then we play dreidel by the candlelight. And I told you once, now I told you twice, about the miracle of the candlelight. And the great menorah, for 8 days it kept on burning. What a celebration, a great return to Torah learning. 'Cause I can feel it, and Nes Gadol, Nes Gadol, Nes Gadol Hayasham, Nes Gadol Hayasham, Nes Gadol